Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Waters Above. It's been a big week for the markets as a whole, as well as a week that could be very telling of where this crypto market is headed next. After the Bitcoin ETFs were approved, we had 2 weeks of trading to the downside, followed by 2 weeks of recovery, and here we are today. And just about 2 weeks ago, before this recovery started, I made a video warning of a short-term bull trap expected for Bitcoin into this exact time of the month of February. So in today's video, we're going to recap that analysis and see exactly what type of bull trap could be playing out with as much detail as possible while keeping it simple and focused on the charts, keeping our emotions on the sidelines to analyze what's going on with clarity. And a quick update, some of you might have watched the new sample video for my new Decoding Mastermind course, which I released here on this channel a couple of days ago. Check that out if you haven't already. Well, this new course will be officially released this upcoming Monday on February 12th at watersabove.com. But from now until then, I have a pre-sale launch and early access that's available for my Patreon supporters, and it gives the biggest discount at the lowest price available. And since my courses are a one-time payment for lifetime access, that means any early supporters will be locked in at the lowest price during this pre-sale launch that's available now for Patreon supporters of our Mastermind community membership at patreon.com/watersabove. That exclusive promo will be unlocked in Patreon after sign up, and this pre-sale launch will be available until the end of this weekend. So if you wanted to take advantage of that discount, there's a couple more days left. And if you decide to invest in yourself by investing in my art, that really means the world to me. I am so grateful for your continued support. And I want you to know that over the past year developing this course, I really poured my heart and soul into this to make it the most user-friendly and effective decoding course for all levels. So whether you're a complete beginner or even an advanced decoder, you'll walk away from the experience with this course with a whole new take on this reality, and it'll be incredibly empowering experience in the process. All the details regarding this pre-sale launch for my new Decoding Mastermind course will be available in the description box and in the pinned comment below. And again, I greatly appreciate all your support. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, Numerology, and Astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out. And make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow our community. And with that being said, let's take the clear pill. All right, it's very important to start out today's video in a way that avoids how emotionally polarizing this recent price action has been, and to just look at the charts and focus on the data. So we're looking at these past cycles, and we're going to recap and just review every Bitcoin cycle since 2012 until today. And we're going to focus on the first time Bitcoin trades into the macro golden pocket territory. This would be pulling a Fibonacci retracement from the swing high of the cycle, or that all-time high at the time, down to the so-called bear market lows. And we're going to make sure that we're looking at this in a logarithmic chart, and that this fib has this log setting turned on right here. You just hit the check mark next to fib levels based on log scale. So what we're specifically analyzing here again is the first time Bitcoin trades into this area between the 618 and 786, or the golden pocket. And we're going to notice a pattern with several things in common. So we're going to be going over here to 2012. And this is the first time where Bitcoin trades into the macro golden pocket around August 2012. And after trading into this golden pocket for the first time, there was an immediate 50% correction that retested the 0.5 fib before recovery and continuation. But let's quickly take note of how long it took for Bitcoin to eventually break out of this golden pocket area and continued to retest those prior cycle all-time highs. So we'll be pulling from the first day effectively of closing a daily candle inside of the golden pocket, and we'll be taking it to the time frame where we started to close our first daily outside of the golden pocket, and that puts us to around 180 days. Essentially, let's just call it 6 months. So now we're going to go over to the 2016 cycle. Again, we're just looking at the time where we first trade into the golden pocket during this cycle. You can see once we got in there, a rejection about 40%, and we were within 5% of the 0.5 fib. We got very, very close to it, but it still gave us a chance and a technical level to get in at a very extreme in the data. So this was an incredible buying opportunity. It didn't last long. But what we do want to talk about is how long Bitcoin traded in this golden pocket territory before continuation. And similar to the last iteration we just reviewed, this whole move here took about 200 days from the first daily close within the golden pocket. And you can see that right there. Pretty much 200 days spot on. Now that's essentially a little over 6 months. Now let's review the next cycle in June of 2019. Again, the first time trading into the golden pocket. And this is where things get a little tricky regarding this structure, which was very elusive, very choppy. And although it was a nightmare for retail, it was an amusement park for traders. But to get back to the main focus, we see this lower highs pattern that developed within this macro golden pocket, eventually buckled and, well, took another leg lower about 3 months after this peak here in June 26th, 2019. And the full correction before the Black Swan event that happened in March 2020 that we're all well aware of, well, that was about a 50% correction. So we have 3 cycles of the past. The first time trading into the golden pocket, we had a 50% correction on the first one. Here we had a 40%, and here we had a much deeper, but around 52% if measuring from right here to right here, before this very, very elusive bull trap, because we bought back for several months, followed by this Black Swan event, C19. But the pattern here is very obvious. The first time we show up into this golden pocket territory, we stall out and we have at least 6 months of sideways before continuation. And in the beginning phase of stalling out, we do have a correction. Here we retested the 0.5 fib. Here we retested within the 0.5 fib, but very close. And then over here, we went way deeper. We had this Black Swan event come down all the way to the 236, an incredible buying opportunity, but of course a V-shaped recovery. It gave you a very solid chance to get into Bitcoin close to our bear market lows. But needless to say, we always came back to the 0.5 fib or within the 0.5 fib. Now, where we're at today, the 0.5 fib is around 32K Bitcoin, and we have yet to retest there. But we're also just about a couple months deep into this pattern out of a potential 6-month pattern. So we want to focus on the data here. We don't want to get emotionally reactive right now, even with what's going on with today's price action. So I showed you all the cycles. We had over 6 months in this regard because we had it kind of cut short. The party was cut short because of this Black Swan event, but you know the pattern and where this is going. And so far today, we are at around day 69 of this trading into the golden pocket phase, we'll call it. So we're essentially on day 69 out of a potential 6-month sideways range that would be fulfilled by the end of May into mid-June of 2024. And note how all the prior examples had us trading into the macro golden pocket in the months of June, July, and August in every cycle. So this actually aligns perfectly, especially if we are to get rejected soon, have a pullback, build some more market structure before continuation higher into the next phase of the bull run. So we're not necessarily ahead of schedule as much as we are just kind of looking at this from a technical perspective. The timing of it all is a lot more difficult, but pretty much Bitcoin's been following the timing as well. When you consider from the all-time high, 1 year later, we had an all-time low in the cycle, followed by this recovery into the golden pocket, and the timing of that very, very similar. We have our cycle high 1 year later, and then within the middle of this cycle, we get back to this golden pocket territory in a very bullish fashion. Here, same case, we had from cycle top to cycle bottom exactly 1 year, and then recovery. We keep seeing Bitcoin repeat the cycles, and that's kind of what we want to share here, and how it's important today, out of all days, when there's a lot of greed entering this market, to just look at things for what they are without getting emotionally reactive again. But keep in mind what I just said moments ago, and that's a note on the number 69. I said that we're about 69 days into this trading range, and well, you come here to this channel because you want the esoteric. You want something that is hidden, that most analysts aren't talking about, and that's what we're going to get into now. So I just brought this up moments ago. It is on day 69 of Bitcoin since it has closed the first daily candle within the golden pocket on December 2nd. And this number 69 has been following Bitcoin. As you're all well aware, Bitcoin's current all-time high is 69,000. And from an esoteric perspective, Bitcoin created by Satoshi Nakamoto, and this mythology of Satoshi is the mythology of Saturn. Saturn is 69 in Gematria. Well, we also have Saturn gives us the 21 in multiple ciphers. You're aware that Bitcoin has 21 million Bitcoin in supply. That number 21 shows up a lot with Bitcoin. We had an incredible bull run in the year of 2021 for Bitcoin. But getting back to this number 69 that we're mentioning and 96 have been significant for Bitcoin's code for years now, since it topped out at this current cycle at 69,000 back in November of 2021. Again, in the year 21. So measuring from December 2nd, I'm going to be typing this all in now and showing you on the dates. So we have December 2nd, 2023, the first daily close for Bitcoin within the macro golden pocket, measuring to today, February 9th of this same year. And sorry, I meant from 2023 to now. That is 69 total days, as mentioned earlier. And we are here on February 9th. And I bring this up because I see data now that's revealing some important notes to take, and it's December 2nd leaves 29 days left in the year, and February 9th today is the 2-9 date in the Gregorian system. You're all also probably aware, or at least have been keeping up with the fact that we are moving into Chinese New Year and the significance of the new moon with the price action of Bitcoin. Well, today is the new moon. So we have this energy moving into the new moon, and then as we leave a new moon and head into a full moon, we correct. We typically relax, stall out, give back some of the gains. And if you've been following along this channel, you know that amongst a populace of investors who've never heard of this thing, but the accuracy of using the moon cycles now allows you to dial in things month to month. So getting back to this, we had this 29 connection a couple of times. We have from the first day entering the golden pocket of the range we have on the 29 days left in the year, and today being the 2-9 date in the Gregorian year. 29 is the 10th prime number. Let me just show you this really quickly. Just going a little bit deep now, but it's important we bring up this. So 29 is the 10th prime number. And everything for Bitcoin ties back to Saturn, which means it ties back to the number 7. Like the true 7th day in the calendar, or in the week, would be Saturn's day. It would not be Sunday. Your week would not restart on a Monday. That has all just been forced into us as a culture and as a society on purpose. This is why they call it the weekend, when you are weakened and then you can't even enjoy it. And then you go into the week where you are weak, the opposite of power. Think about this. It's all word magic. It's spells. So the true 7th day of the week would be Saturn's day. And on the 7th year in Judaism, they practice the Shemitah year, which is the 7-year agricultural cycle called the sabbatical year. Saturn is Shabbatai or Shabbatay in Hebrew. The Shemitah is every 7 years starting on the month of Tishri after Rosh Hashanah. Tishri is the 7th month in the Hebrew calendrical system. This sabbatical year I'm talking about has marked all of our market cycle highs and all of our major historic market crashes. So this all ties back to the number 7. And I laid out that foundation of gnosis for a reason, because this number 7 we brought up to tie in everything together. Well, this number 69 naturally leads into the number 70. And in numerology, this number 70 becomes 7. You remove the 0 in the rules of numerology. So 70 is 10 cycles of 7. And we were just decoding this number 29 is the 10th prime. So now we're getting a little more advanced here, but this is the decoding system. This will reveal what's happening and the energy and power behind the numbers. So take notes. So we have 70 is 10 cycles of 7. That's a completion. And I just mentioned moments ago, the day Bitcoin closed its first daily close within the golden pocket was on December 2nd, 29 days left in the year. We're here on February 9th, the 2/9 date, 29, the 10th prime. Here we are 69 days later on this 2/9 date, leading into tomorrow, which will be your 70th day. And that could very well be the completion of this so-called bullish energy in this cycle. And both of these dates that we're talking about have a 2-1 combination. They're also both Saturn's days. So days of Saturn, 21. Now, want your mind really blown? We brought all this up to synchronize this mythology of Saturn with the mythology of Satoshi Nakamoto. So let's connect tomorrow, a Saturn's Day, which is also Chinese New Year, to Satoshi Nakamoto's mythological birthday on April 5th, 2024. And that gives you 55 days. They're 55 days apart. And a quick note, today, the day that we could very well be topping out in this microcycle, is a 55 double-digit date numerology. And why that's significant is because the last time we had a double-digit date numerology was on January 10th. And you could see that right there. That was the day that the Bitcoin ETF was approved. So for those who are doubting this code I'm exposing to you, I don't really know what to tell you. And I'm going to prove why this number 55 has this significance. It ties back to Saturn in crypto. Satoshi Nakamoto is 55 in multiple ciphers. Again, today and the day that Bitcoin ETF was approved was a 55 double-digit date numerology, a more esoteric form of date numerology. And we're talking about this Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year, tied to Satoshi's birthday as 55 days apart. So there's a huge significance in all of this, and I'm going to be getting into it in a moment regarding Satoshi, but we just showed you 55 tying this into the code in multiple ciphers. Another important thing I want to point out about this specific time of year in astrology is talking about sidereal astrology and how we're in the sidereal Capricorn until around February 12th. And Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, all right? Again, Saturn tied to Satoshi. And we'll be in sidereal Capricorn until around the end of this weekend, pretty much Monday. And consider that Sunday, this upcoming Super Bowl Sunday, it'll be the last days of Capricorn in sidereal astrology. It's also tied to Satoshi's birthday by 55 days if you were to include the end date. So that could be very important because February 11th is also the day, the 42nd day of this year. And I'm going to show you a couple things about this number 42. Well, Satoshi Nakamoto is 181. 181 is your 42nd prime number. And we have the mirror of that number 42 would be 24. Remember, for decoding, we always mirror the number or the symbol. Well, Satoshi Nakamoto also equals 89, which is the 24th prime number. Okay? So we have this number 24 and 42 coded into this mythology of this character, as well as Bitcoin itself, being the creator of Bitcoin. Well, we can go even further with this 24. We have the Hebrew year that we're in right now is 5,784. It's adding up to 24. This is the Gregorian year of 2024. the year I've been calling the year of the X, and this X is the 24th letter in the alphabet. On April 8th, we have the solar eclipse called the Great American Eclipse that forms an X over the state of Texas, just days after Satoshi Nakamoto's birthday that we've been decoding. And what's so important about Satoshi's next birthday is that this mythological character will be turning 49 years old. And here we are decoding all of this for this upcoming Sunday, February 11th, when the 49ers will be playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And Bitcoin's current yearly high, so far as I record this video, is 49,000. It's incredible how synchronized all of this is. And since I brought up the Super Bowl and earlier I mentioned the 2019 cycle into 2020 Black Swan event when reviewing all of Bitcoin's prior cycles, well, let's match up some of this data. This current matchup of the Super Bowl in a couple days is the same as the one back in the 2020 Super Bowl for the 2019 season. It's the same. It's the 49ers going against the Chiefs. And what happened a month after that Super Bowl? Well, there was a Black Swan event that shut down the whole world. So I'm not saying that's what will happen again, but it's obviously scripted. And look at how synchronized it is, not only to the way the market is behaving right now during this exact same time of year, but look at how synchronized it is with Bitcoin's price action. And when I said markets earlier, I mean even with the indices, kind of this bullish energy in the month of February, and then it all gets taken out in March. And that was leading into the Chinese New Year, which is tomorrow. So Bitcoin hits 49K when the ETFs were approved. Satoshi's 49th birthday is coming up, and the 49ers are in the Super Bowl. The day after Chinese New Year starts, the year of the dragon, tied to the sun, which is tied to gold. The 49ers are the gold miners. They used pickaxes to mine gold. The Denver Nuggets won the NBA championships last year. Their logo is the pickaxes forming the X, the crossbones, skull and crossbones symbolism. The Chiefs won last year's Super Bowl. Their logo is the arrowhead, which is tied into the tomahawk. More axe symbolism. Same color scheme as well. The NHL team that won last year's Stanley Cup was the Vegas Golden Knights. Gold symbolism. And this team is literally from Paradise, Nevada, which is where this year's Super Bowl takes place. Again, this is all scripted, and it's all tied to this theme of gold, which is a big reason why the last solar eclipse on October 2023, I said I was very bullish on gold for 2024 and for the following year of 2025, which is the year of the snake. It has everything to do with this symbolism I'm decoding. But I stuck to my plan and I added about a 10% gold position to my long-term portfolio to build a stronger foundation in my overall wealth plan. And for those that watched my New Year's decode for the year of the dragon decoded on Patreon, you have all the crucial information that proves how important gold will be symbolically for this year. And you're already aware of the significance of Chinese New Year and all of what happened on the world stage. And here we go. Tomorrow is Chinese New Year, and we see how Bitcoin and the overall markets are trading right now. As well, we have this upcoming Super Bowl, which has already broken records allegedly for betting, and I'd imagine it'll also break some records for views with this whole Taylor Swift thing. And for those that are interested in finance, you've probably heard of the Swift messaging network for our current global payment system. And an interesting data point is that it's been 50 years since the Swift system was founded. And this number 50 is the Jubilee number, the number after 49. 7 cycles of 7, 49 is 7 squared, and on the 50th year is biblical Jubilee. Just like how we had 50 years to the day between the Yom Kippur War and the war that was just declared in Israel. And this whole Jubilee concept that I bring up is practiced in Judaism, making this number 49 very powerful. This is an incredibly significant number. So we have the 49ers in the Super Bowl. The red and gold team is going against another red and gold team right at the start of the year of the dragon. Red and gold being the most significant colors tied to the dragon year symbolically. And one thing I want to circle back to is the time frame these teams went against each other in the Super Bowl 4 years ago in 2020. Looking at the Bitcoin chart before the February 2020 crash, let me just revisit that for you all. We just want to look at the dates in particular, so we'll turn off all this noise. And we have right here the February timeframe of 2020, and it was February 13th was about as high as we went into February 12th, February 13th, which I find very interesting because in 2020, we stalled out in February 10th right here. So we have this like early to mid-February theme. And this was a very choppy and arduous trading range before we went into a deeper correction. And I'm well aware that it was like the start of a bear market. But the point is kind of similar to what we talked about the month of January months ago. How we're able to determine the price action and energy month by month has not only to do with the lunar cycles, but it has to do with the date numerology, and it has to do with it synchronizing with Chinese New Year. So it's important to just find a couple of these iterations where this month of February, especially the early time frame, is very bullish, and then we seemingly get a pullback from March. So lately we've been having this theme of elusively bullish Februaries and rituals in the month of March. But what's interesting is, are we going to repeat this same fractal of topping out soon around this month's new moon and a deeper correction that follows? And in order to make sense of this, we need to revisit the micro within the macro. So let's do that now. I know this is already enough, but we're just going to make it even more valuable in today's video. So we've reviewed all of the times where Bitcoin traded into the macro golden pocket. We're going to zoom in a little bit more now. Let's go a little bit deeper into the first 2 to 3 months of Bitcoin trading into this phase, and the first 2 to 3 months out of an overall 6-month phase. So I have short-term fibs pulled in each of these cycles going back to 2012. We're going to analyze them one by one. Bitcoin starting in August 2012, traded right into the micro golden pocket. Couldn't close a daily above the 702 fib, rejected and retested the middle of the range before continuing the bull run. But keep note of this interaction with the micro golden pocket. So you're going to move on to the next one, and you're going to see got bought back, bottom of the golden pocket, rejected, and then we had kind of a dead cat bounce scenario because we took another leg lower to follow, but essentially kept sideways and recovered. So still bullish in general, but we did have a dead cat bounce play out. We're going to go to 2019. And again, this was a very elusive phase for Bitcoin back in 2019 leading into 2020. And like this Super Bowl matchup we have now, it's mirroring this potential price action for this Bitcoin cycle, potentially. So for now, let's check what Bitcoin is doing today. But we see over here, another buyback into the micro golden pocket, rejection, and downtrend. So we are now, as I film today, Bitcoin has smashed through this level, and the FOMO is as real as it's ever been, exactly 1 month since this FOMO candle here on January 8th, in anticipation for the Bitcoin ETFs to be approved, and also right around the new moon. Well, remember, today is the new moon, and not just any new moon, it's the Chinese Lunar New Year, and the FOMO is back. So will Bitcoin trade into 49K again for this weekend Super Bowl matchup of the 49ers against the Chiefs? And the question many have is this pump sustainable? Well, we still have a nasty bearish divergence to consider on the daily. So we're going to go over to this and just kind of talk about that for a moment. And we're talking about this bearish divergence right here. We have the RSI at 87 back in October 2023, then a lower peak high to follow in December 2023 at around 81 on the daily RSI. And so far as of today, we have continuously been planting higher highs in price action with lower highs in RSI. So this is going on 4 months now. But let's consider that if Bitcoin was to close today above this micro 702 level that I'm talking about, which is right below 46K. And we only have like an hour left or so in this daily close, so it's likely to happen. Well, that would be the first time Bitcoin has ever done this during this phase of the bull run. And of course, this also is the first time Bitcoin has an official ETF narrative as well. There's also a lot of so-called firsts for the world stage compared to back in prior cycles. But if I was to check in with the last cycle in 2019, this type of price action we're getting right now is eerily similar. And the amount of time trading in this area has never lasted more than 4 trading days. So consider today to be day 2. And day 2 isn't even complete as of yet, by the way. We still have until this Monday to see how this all plays out, literally the day after the Super Bowl. So now what I'm about to say, I'm not going to be sharing who I think will win this year's Super Bowl because I didn't have the time to do a thorough decode in it this year due to all the other priorities I had going on with releasing my new decoding mastermind course. But combining my Year of the Dragon decoded, which was about a week ago when it was released, with the information that I'm sharing in today's video, all I can say is if, and that's a big if, because again, I'm not sharing a prediction for something that I didn't have the time to do a thorough decode on. But if the 49ers lose and Bitcoin retests this 49K area within the next couple days around the Super Bowl, and if Bitcoin starts to correct from there, that would be absolutely wild and prove without a shadow of a doubt that this is all synchronized together. Simulation confirmed, especially with Satoshi Nakamoto's 49th birthday being right around the corner. And so far, utilizing all of these past cycles and the analysis we've been sharing over the past couple months, it's still valid until Bitcoin starts closing a daily candle above the macro golden pocket, which was the main analysis we've been sticking to here on this channel for over 6 months now. So if you're new here, that's why this could all seem like it's happening so fast and could be confusing. But in actuality, we've been tracking this phase of the bull run for the past half a year. So zoom out. Zoom out for a moment and keep the emotions on the sidelines. The macro 786 fib, or the top of the golden pocket, it sits at 50K. And let me pull that up for you really quickly. It's right here. Notice it's a little messy. Got a couple major trend lines, but this area of where it would really start to show an invalidation of what Bitcoin has done in all past cycles is if Bitcoin was to start closing above 50K on the daily. And during this first time Bitcoin trades into this zone, it has never started closing macro candles above this level and continued on retesting all-time highs on the first go. It's never happened. Even in 2019, when it wicked above the 786, it still couldn't close a daily above that level. It got rejected, followed by an arduous corrective stage. Really, really difficult to trade through, especially for retail, and I feel like that's essentially what's going on now. We analyzed this earlier. So basically, what this all boils down to is we need more market structure. And during this time, it's typical to see Bitcoin chill out and trade within the macro golden pocket territory for at least 6 months, starting the count from when we first close a daily in this zone. And like I mentioned earlier, that brings us around this late May into early June timeframe, and it's only February. So if Bitcoin is ready to do something it's never done before, we can't tell just yet, but I do think we'll have clarity very soon, and it's likely that this is a bull trap. So is Bitcoin ready to do something it's never done before, or will it repeat and chop around this 40 to 50K range until May with a pullback at least around the 0.5 fib like it did in all past cycles over the past decade? Is this an elusive bull trap similar to the one like in 2019 when the teams that are playing in this upcoming Super Bowl were the same right before an event that impacted the whole world in March? Well, we'll be finding out within the next 4 days, potentially even within the next 48 hours. But February 13th is my key date, and I'm focused on it for a couple reasons. February 13th, the day leaving 322 days in the year. That's the skull and bones number. Before we talked about this skull and bones symbolism, the crossbones, the pickaxes, and it's also the 44th day of the year. That's 2 4s, or 24 esoterically. And we're in the Hebrew year that adds up to 24 and the 24 Gregorian year. It's all synchronized into this number 24. And this will also be exactly 33 days since Bitcoin hit 49K for the first time this year. So at our current yearly high, it would be 33 days after. 33 is the master number of transmutation, like the alchemical process of turning lead into gold. And we have these gold teams matching up for this year's Super Bowl. Consider today could be like a pulse wave or a ripple effect coming out of this central date being this Sunday. We have 2 days before today being today, 2 days before that date being today, and then 2 days after that being this date of February 13th that I just started talking about. This is the ripple effect of time that you need to pay attention to as decoders. And like all other big sporting events, this is just a prana harvesting ritual. It's a very well-known event and date, and the elite use this energy to do as they wish with this realm. They give us distractions to give our energy to, and then they use that energy as fuel for this battery called the Matrix. So however this game goes on Sunday, it will play a crucial role in how it all turns out for the market as well. If the Chiefs win, it would be a repeat of 2020. If the 49ers win, it would be an energy balance since they lost in 2020. And if that was the case, that would be big since the 49ers haven't won a Super Bowl in 29 years. And the Chiefs have been the talk of the town in the NFL specifically over the past 4 years since they won that championship against the 49ers in 2020. There's even a Netflix documentary about the quarterback of the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. And I just found out that this whole Taylor Swift connection to the Chiefs recently, and her being pretty much the most famous musician on the world stage, that means all the prana is going to the Chiefs because she's dating one of the players on the Chiefs. So here's the thing. If the Chiefs were to lose, it would be a huge upset considering all these points, especially if you yourself are a sports decoder. And the most important part of any decode is to have the awareness of the energy of the event or the concept you're decoding. It's all about energy, frequency, and vibration. That's how the apex predator sets up this Truman Show we're all living in. It's all energy harvesting, whether it be the Matrix, sporting events, or the market. The apex predator preys on dumb money to make emotional and irrational decisions at the worst times to make a decision, whilst the apex predator is making all of their moves when it's boring. So they're always prepared for how you'll react when things are exciting. Rinse, repeat. And right now, well, things are clearly exciting. There's FOMO in these markets. Greed is at full throttle. You can see that the gambling industry is doing incredible right now since the Super Bowl is breaking records, and some people really don't think that this euphoria has a reset button. Now, come on now. This is what the market maker does best. This is what the gambling industry runs on, your emotions. And they've strategized the perfect system to take your money every time. So let's wrap up today's video. If I had to compare cycles, I feel we're in a similar setup to 2019. This is a very elusive past couple of months for Bitcoin. Sentiment is hot and cold. There was all this negativity in Bitcoin after the ETFs launched because it immediately followed by this 20% correction. And now there's all this positivity because Bitcoin's trading back into the same level that it was days before the ETF was launched. All that's happening in this process is leverage longs got liquidated, and now it's following up with shorts are getting wiped out. It was a short-term bear trap into a seemingly short-term bull trap. Again, all focused on the short term at the end of the day because this bull run is just getting started. But of course, we're here covering it week by week, sharing an esoteric perspective on the markets. And lastly, there's a theme of about 70 to 90 days after this price structure starts to build. And if I was to consider that, if we were to take from January 11th, where we've topped out in the short term, bring it over about 70 days. Let me show you really quick. It brings us into around March 21st. There you go. That would be around the March lunar eclipse. And this 90-day concept would bring us right around to April 10th, as you can see here. And we have that right around the solar eclipse. So it couldn't be any more perfect in regards to the timing of this phase of the cycle. I'd personally put emphasis on this time from March 21st to April 10th as the final lower range of this phase. That would also align with what happens in most election years with the stock market. And if we were to have any big pullbacks for Bitcoin, it would be before completing that time frame. Essentially, it would be most likely happening before April 8th or our next solar eclipse. So unless Bitcoin does something it has never done before at this stage in the cycle and continues up from here, breaking 50K in the short term and closing a daily above 50K, and note that last part, it would need to close a daily above 50K or above the macro golden pocket, which I repeat would be the first time Bitcoin has ever done such a thing based on where we're at in the cycle. Well, until then, we're still in a micro bull trap, and what could very well be the last couple days of euphoria, and this could be to liquidate as many shorts as possible right now, to trap as many bulls into this market at the last minute before whales start dumping for Chinese New Year. So let's see how this all goes down over the next couple days, and as mentioned earlier, my Decoding Mastermind course is on pre-sale right now for the Patreon supporters of the Mastermind community membership at patreon.com/watersabove. Available now. It's a 25% off discount before public release. It'll be released to the public on February 12th, this upcoming Monday. And this is the best price to get in at since my courses are a one-time payment for lifetime access. You'd be locked in at the lowest price and be one of the first supporters of this project. And I've been working on this for over a year now. It's the most important compilation of knowledge I've ever released, packed with as much value as possible. And I've already received amazing feedback, and I appreciate and I'm so grateful for the continued support. It really means the world to me. And I'll be catching some of you tomorrow in my weekly live stream, as well as this Sunday, I'll be releasing my new Red Pill podcast, which could be probably one of the most important red pills of the year, given this market situation, and since it'll be happening during the day of the Super Bowl. So I'm looking forward to that, and as mentioned moments ago, by becoming a Patreon supporter, you'd unlock pre-sale and early access to my new Decoding Mastermind, which is live now, this new red pill that'll be coming out, and my recent Year of the Dragon Decoded. So I appreciate every single one of you, wishing you all an amazing rest of your day in the Matrix. Much love.